Hey everyone, my name is Christy. Welcome to my corner. Thank you all so much for joining me for Flosstube number 10, jazz hands. Welcome to my new subscribers. I'm so happy to have you join me on my crafting adventure. And for those of you who keep coming back, it is so great to see you and to chat with you in the comments. And I'm just so excited about having you all as part of my community. So thanks for coming back. This is a channel about my various crafting hobbies, including embroidery and needle felting sometimes, and also baking and history. I'm a history professor. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, I hope you will subscribe and join me in my adventures. I post floss tubes like this every Friday, and then on Tuesdays I post wildcard videos of whatever I happen to be doing at that time. So I post twice a week. It has been a busy week for me. I have had masses of grading to do, and so I haven't had a ton of time for stitching and other crafting. I did make that bread pudding from the National Cookbook, the 1856 cookbook. I'll post a link to that video here, and I added cinnamon and apples today, so we'll see how it goes. I also, in the tutorial that I posted, the recipe said to boil the milk and then let it soak boiled. Someone in the comments, and I'm sorry, I forgot to look before I started filming this, but someone in the comments said that their mother used to make bread pudding this way, but she just poured the milk in cold. So I tried doing the cold milk idea, and I put it in the fridge overnight, and it worked eventually, but it just took longer for the milk all to soak in. I also left the crust on to get a little bit more texture in there as well. We'll see how it is. We haven't tried it yet, but I just thought I'd let you know that I am still cooking from the National Cookbook, even if I'm not on camera. And we have bread pudding to eat now. That will be delicious. I did that this morning. However, like I said, I haven't had a ton of time for stitching, but I do have some small finished objects, and I have some whips. I have haul and I have plans. So let's just get started. I want to start with my finishes, and my finishes are all part of the hashtag Stitchtober daily stitching prompts. And I will put a picture of the stitching prompt right here so you can see. I am a couple of days behind, but I'll do 2 today and 2 tomorrow, and then I'll be caught up. So I have 5 to show you. And after today, I'll actually be done with this piece of fabric, so I will have to have a new piece of fabric for the second half of the month. I have day 9 is feast. So I did a little cornucopia, which I think is kind of sweet. Day 10 is knot. So I did a Celtic knot and a fun variegated floss. And I think I mentioned this last week, or maybe I mentioned it on someone else's comment. I don't remember. But one of the problems with the kind of embroidery that I do is that I get all these amazing variegated flosses that I can't really use for anything, because cross stitchers have these great monochromatic patterns that just look really good in variegated flosses. And I don't do them. And so finding places where I can use variegated flosses that are like this kind of variegated is really, really exciting for me. So that was fun. Day 11 was toy. And so I did a creepy Raggedy Ann rag doll. And this was fun because I got to do a turkey stitch. A turkey stitch is, if you ever see these kind of fluffy stitches or people doing hair embroidery, that's a turkey stitch where it's basically fluffy. And I can do a tutorial of a turkey stitch if anyone's interested in learning more about turkey stitches. I'll talk about the stitches when I'm done. Day 12 is unearthed. So I did, I think it's self-explanatory. I hope I did a skeleton hand coming out of the earth. And then day 13 is folklore. So I did a green man face. That is what I have done. I have 2 more sketched out. I think one is bargain. Oh, the other one is fur. And I have that one. I have bargain and fur sketched out here. I will have those for next week. And those are my finishes. I just have these little tiny finishes. Like I said, not a lot of time for stitching, but I'm pretty pleased with these. And I got to use all sorts of different stitches that I haven't used in a while. So my Feast is using this Around the Cornucopia is a back stitch. I used some bullion knots in the wheat. So those tips are bullion knots. I used some satin stitches for the pumpkin, and then all of them have a chain stitch around the outside. The knot was just a stem stitch, and then the chain stitch around the outside. I talked about the turkey stitch for the hair, but I also did a satin stitch for the face. I don't know if you can see. Move her bows out of the way. The bows are too big. And then I did a little cross for her, a little X for her little red mouth, and some French knots for her eyes. The ground was straight stitches and French knots, and then the skeleton hand itself was stem stitches. I really like stem stitches. That's kind of my go-to stitch usually. And then Green Man is also stem stitch. Again, it's my go-to stitch. And then the eyes are satin stitches. So these are my finishes. And I'm pretty pleased with them. This is turning out to actually be a really nice, I don't know, practice, creative, like get my kind of creative juices flowing. And for the most part, I'm really pleased with the whole set. And I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I'm probably just going to roll this up and put it in my like finished object box. But I can fit 2 more on here, and then I will cut out another strip of cloth and work on the second half of the month. So that is that. And that takes me to whips. And I have a couple of whips that I have been working on. My main whip that I've been focusing on is my Danse Macabre. I really want to get that finished by, I was going to say Thanksgiving, by Halloween. Definitely by Thanksgiving. But I'd like to get it done by Halloween. And so I'm pretty close, actually. I'm pretty close here. All that I have left to do is finish this skeleton here, get these kind of skeleton heads here, and then do this wall. The rest of this up here I'm not doing, mostly because of my ironing my sulky stick and stitch debacle. I'm not going to worry about the arches and the architecture and stuff, but I do need the wall because this skeleton here is climbing over the wall. So that's my Danse Macabre. All the dark parts are what I have stitched, and the grayed out parts are the parts that still need stitching. And this is done on a ivory linen from Fat Quarter Shop that I coffee dyed, and the stitching is done 1 strand of Weeks Dye Works Onyx in a stem stitch mostly, except for some of these sort of straight lines that are like the shading lines I'm doing in straight stitch. So that's what this is. That's what's happening with this. My next whip is my Hildegard of Bingen's Cosmic Egg, and I'm really excited. I had planned on this being a mixed media piece, and so it's going to include embroidery and watercolor painting and hopefully gilding, like gold leafing, if I can figure out how to get it to stick to the fabric. I have seen people do gold leaf on fabric on Instagram, and so I want to try that out. But I'm really pleased because I have a lot of the middle, well, in fact, I have almost all of the middle stitched. Hildegard of Bingen was a 12th century nun who had divine visions. And one of her divine visions was an image of the universe. And so her cosmic egg is an image of the universe. And the inside here is the earth. And so I have the earth done. And then this blue part here is watercolor, and that's the firmament. So that's like where the stars are. So I'm going to stitch some yellow, I think they're yellow and white stars in there. But I'm really pleased with this. I'm pleased with how it came out. It's It's a little more mottled. That blue color is mottled, but I think that once I start stitching over it, it will feel less obviously mottled because it does have kind of stars going all throughout it. So I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I'm pleased that it didn't spread so far. It did spread a little bit, but I'm going to be stitching over it, so it should be okay. But I'm really pleased with that. And this was an experiment and it worked. But it used a lot of watercolor because I wanted it to be really dark. So I'm going to have to buy more of this blue after I use this piece. And I'm stitching this on a natural linen yardage from Fat Quarter Shop. And I love it. And the needle minder I made, it is the Tree of Life. I thought that that was, you know, apropos with the universe here. And it lives in my map project bag that I made that I'm really, really pleased with, even though I messed it up. And it has a whole mess of flosses, and I'll pull out the flosses so you can see them. Some of them are Color and Cotton. Some of them are DMC. I think I have Dying for Cross Stitch in here, the pumpkin, lots of different colors. Essentially, I'm using colors that will go and that I think will look nice as opposed to a specific brand or colorway or whatever. Because I'll put the picture of the finished project up here. And here is where I am. So that is my other whip that I'm really pleased with. And my final whip, which I had meant to talk about last week, but I did not, which is living in my favorite project bag, which is the Cork and Heron project bag that I made a couple weeks ago, is my logo, which I showed 2 weeks ago, I think. And the reason why I'm showing it to you again, even though I haven't had any progress on it, is because I have made a floss decision. I had asked you for your opinion on what floss to use, and there was a silk floss and a cotton floss, and the silk floss was called Stardust, and it was kind of some teals and lavenders and grays. It was kind of light and it was really pretty. And the other one was called Mariana, and it was a cotton that was more darker teals into blues. And it was not unanimous, but the fan favorite was the Mariana by Dying for Cross Stitch. And so I'm going to stitch my logo in this. And my plan is to have it say Christie's Corner in a font. I haven't decided which font yet. And I'm going to fill it in with all sorts of different stitches, which I think is kind of fun. And then I would like to, if I can, figure out how to do this, have kind of stitch a thread coming out with like a needle that looks real. I don't know if I have that kind of skill. We'll see. But anyway, that's the plan. And I'm going to use Dying for Cross Stitch Mariana. So thank you all so much for chiming in and for giving me your opinions. I really appreciated it. And I'm really pleased with how this, well, I can't say I'm really pleased with how this is going to turn out. I'm really excited to start working with this. And again, this is a nice variegated floss that I won't be able to use very much because of the way I do my stitching. But on something like this, it'll be perfect because it'll have some variation and depth and it'll be really fun. I'm excited about that. And that is living in my project bag. And that, my friends, is my whips. I don't have anything else I've been working on, but that's actually quite a bit for a week. So I'm pretty pleased. I'm pretty pleased with that. But I do have some excellent haul. And I have more haul than I had anticipated because I did a little Amazon purchase, not Prime Day, just like on my own. And I thought they were going to come tomorrow, but it actually came today. And so I'm going to show you those as well. And then I have a found haul. I have found objects. I think one of my neighbors is a hoarder, and so she put out a couple of things that I thought were interesting, so I picked them up. So let's talk about that. My first purchase was from Wisecraft Handmade, and I'll put a link to the shop below. And she makes thread gloss in 3 different scents. She only has one in stock now, and it's the Earl Grey, but it smells so good. And essentially this is like, it's good. This is just a thread, wax. It's wax and coconut oil, I think. But I got this from Wisecraft Handmade. And then I also got a Aurifil wool. I guess it's sort of half wool, half nylon maybe, or acrylic, just to see what it was. It was on sale, and so I picked it up because I want to start doing some more Bayou Tapestry reproductions, different images, but I want to start doing them in wool. And I thought I'd try this out first, but I can't seem to find it anywhere else. And this is the only color she had. And so I'm not quite sure if I can use this. But I did find another kind of wool that I might pick up in the next couple of days that is 100% wool. And we'll see if I like that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I got the Dying for Cross Stitch Halloween silk colorway in lime green, dark gray, and purple. These have been sitting there since last month on her website, and I'll put that link below. And they were just really pretty, and so I just kind of decided to pull the trigger and get them. So I got those. And then I got the most ridiculous thing, which I almost forgot to tell you about because it's behind me. I got a cone of white DMC floss. This is DMC's 6-strand cotton. I got this from Penguin and Fish. She is getting rid of some of her DMC cones. It has 2,100 meters of DMC white floss, which means that I will never have to buy white floss ever again for the rest of my life. But I got this because I want to try dyeing floss using natural dyes. This kind of goes along with my thoughts about my Bayou Tapestry situation. So basically, and I've mentioned this before, but my winter break is really long and I won't be traveling to see my family, I have decided, for health and safety reasons. And so I've been trying to come up with craft ideas to really make me happy since I can't see my family and I'm still in isolation and I have this kind of long break. So I thought using those natural dyes that they used in the Middle Ages to dye the wool for the Bayou Tapestry would be kind of a fun thing for me to play around with, and other natural dyes as well. I decided that I would just bite the bullet and buy just a ton of floss. It's ridiculous. I got this in the mail and I just started laughing. But anyway, I'll put the link to this below. She has other colors too. So if you really like doing black work or really like doing red work and want a ton of floss, she's selling them for $55, which is cheaper than DMC sells them. 2,100 meters of white floss. If anyone needs any white DMC floss, hit me up. I got a couple yards. That was my specifically embroidery haul. But I got a couple crafty things too. Something else that I've been really interested in doing is making pine needle baskets. And I know this sounds crazy, but there are these pine trees with like the pine trees that you use to make pine needle baskets are all around me, like across the street, like they're on my car all the time. And I saw a video of a woman in Canada who made some pine needle baskets, and I thought that that was just an incredible way to use sort of natural products. And I have been interested in basket weaving actually for years. I have another basket weaving book that I bought probably 10 or 15 years ago. But I saw this book on Amazon and it's used and it was not that expensive. And so I got it. And I'm so glad I did. I flipped through it today and there are some really cool baskets in here. And so that's another thing that I kind of want to do over break is make some baskets, since I can just go outside my front door and get the pine needles. And I can use my like junk crappy floss that I have that I bought for something else to tie it all together. So it'll be colorful and natural baskets. Anyway, this is exciting. So expect to see dyeing experiments and pine needle basket experiments from the end of November until the beginning of January. That's my plan. I got that. And then I'm so excited. I'm so excited about this. I got a new iron. I never thought in my entire life I would be this excited about an iron. But this is a cordless iron that is 360, and I can't wait to take this thing for a test drive. I'm so excited. That is my purchased haul. And then I have a found haul, which is just 3 things, so don't get too excited. I found this, well, I didn't find it. My neighbor put out in a box on the street a box of books, and I just really like this cover for some reason. It's a book of poetry. I don't know the poet. I've never heard of the poet, but I don't know much about poetry. Clinton T. Howell. I don't know. Does anyone know him? If anyone knows him, tell me if he's like important. I just don't know. But it has sort of neat images in it. I don't know. It's just interesting, and it had a neat cover. So I picked it up. If I don't want it, I'll toss it. It was going to go in the garbage anyway. She put out just a really nice wooden box that I think had like chocolate or something in it. And it has a lid. And she put out a bunch of just craft feathers. So I thought I would pick those up too. They could be used for something. I don't know. But I figured I would pick them up. So the box is a cute size. I can paint it or sand it. No, sorry. Paint it or stain it. Or, I don't know, whatever I want to do with it. Line it with something. I could put embroidery on the top of this. I don't know. It was just a nice box. So I picked it up. And that's it. That's my haul, both free and not free. And that brings us to my plans. I don't have a history conversation, I think, today. I just haven't had the time, honestly. So my plans are to continue working on my Stitchtober every day. I want to work on my Dance Macabre so I can hopefully get that finished by Halloween. That would be really nice. I want to continue working on my Hildegard of Bingen and at least get to the point where I'm putting stars in the firmament. I feel like biblical. Which I guess it makes sense since she's having divine visions. So yeah, I want to put some stars in the firmament. And I would like to at least sketch out, or maybe even just choose the font for my logo. Because I don't love the one that I've been using, I have to be honest with you. And I kind of wanted something that was chunkier so I could play around with more stitches inside of the letters. I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see what I do with that. I don't expect that I'll start my logo, but if I can choose my font, maybe print out the lettering that I want, I'll feel like I accomplished something. And I think that that's it. I think that's plenty. I do actually want to film tomorrow another historical baking. I have a pumpkin that I got a long time ago. Luckily, pumpkins last forever, but I have a pumpkin and I want to make pumpkin pudding out of that National Cookbook. It's basically just pumpkin pie filling with brandy, which sounds delicious. So I think I might want to do that tomorrow, and then that'll go up on Tuesday. That's my plan anyway. At the moment, we'll see. We'll see if it stays my plan. I've been planning on making this pumpkin pudding for 2.5 weeks now. And in fact, I already filmed the intro to it 2.5 weeks ago, almost 3 weeks ago. So we'll see. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you all so much for joining me today. If you found something interesting, please subscribe. And if you'd like to follow my stitching and other life things, you can find me on Instagram at Dr_Christy. I'll put that in the description below. And with all that being said, please take care of yourselves and have a good one.